Well, good day there, and welcome back to the channel. So today, as you can see, we're back in the office with the creaky squeaky chair. Gonna have to fix that or replace that or something at some point. Anyways, so what we're gonna go over today is a question that I get quite frequently, and that is, how do I select the right machine for me? And while there's no real definitive answer for that, there's no follow this formula and it'll work every time kind of thing for that, because it is so situational and it's very much based on a few key factors that affect what you're doing. I do have a method that I use, and I will share that method with you, and we will how to say this, we'll see, hopefully it works for you, and hopefully it helps you find a machine. Now, forgive me as I draw a blank on things, because there's no script for this. So we're just going to kind of truck through it and go from there. Full disclosure though, before we get into this, I am going to list off some prices of the Rippa lineup. Now, that being said, they are in beaver bucks. It's Canadian dollars. And they are not 100% accurate. Some of them are what I remember them being when I spoke with my local dealer. Some of them are the ones that I found and I kind of averaged it out online. And others, honestly, are kind of a shot in the dark, using some form of educated guess. Now, I guess I shouldn't have to say this, but I'll say it anyways. These prices may not, and most likely will not, be what your dealer may be quoting you, because there's many other factors that go into the price of one of these pieces of equipment. Well, that's country, that's province or state, that's shipping, that's if they charge you for a PDI, so a pre-delivery inspection, and if they do charge you for that, just do it. And many other instances like that, like if you finance, there's an interest rate and there's fees and things like that, or what your sales tax is, or is there environmental fees on things. All these factors add up. So please contact your dealer and don't try and hold them to the prices you're going to hear today, because that is just completely unfair and unrealistic. What these prices are is to give you an idea of where the entire Rippa blue line, so the blue line of machines, so the Pro and the Eco, where they fall into category price-wise. Okay? And there's a couple that are going to surprise you. But we're going to go through them first, and we're going to go through them from the smallest machine all the way to their largest offering. Now, that brings us to our first machine, which is, if I whip out the notes here, is the Rippa R06. Okay, so that is a 1,600 pound machine with a digging depth of 39.40 inches, and it runs on a Kubota Z482 diesel, which cranks out a whopping 11.23 horsepower. Wow, what a beast. I don't have a price for this. I could not find anywhere listing a price for this machine. As far as I'm aware, it was like just announced a few months ago, and nobody's got pricing. So if somebody does have a price for these, it doesn't matter what dollar it is, drop it in the comments so we can get proper information to people. Now, I'm going to speculate here, and this is one of those kind of educated, speculated guesses in the dark. I'm going to say this machine is going to range between 10 to 15,000 Canadian. All right. One thing I've noticed or sorry, I guess I should say where I pull that number from is the trend that I've noticed with equipment is the smaller and more compact it gets, the pricier it gets. We can reflect that into the automotive market. Myself being a GM, call my fanatic, for lack of better terms. If you look at the price of a full size versus the price of like Colorado or Canyon, you see they're close, and you get more truck out of the full size, but you pay darn near full size price for the compact truck. So that's something to keep in mind, right? When you're looking at equipment, the smaller normally comes with a relatively good price tag. All right, moving forward, we have the Rippa R10. Now these have two variants. Actually, they have three variants. Sorry. So they have the gas. So it's the Eco. The gas, 13.5 horsepower Briggs & Stratton. They're claiming it weighs 1,000 kilograms, which is 2,204 pounds. And I know for a fact that the one with the canopy, because I have one sitting on the property, goes for 10.5 plus GST. Now for 2026, Rippa is releasing the R10 with the Kubota Z482. Again, a whopping 11.23 horsepower. And you can get it with a full cab. And I struggle to find why you'd want a full cab on a 1-ton machine. The specs are the same for weight. They're saying 1,000 kilograms. And I would imagine that machine, you know, with the cab and the diesel, probably 15 grand Canadian. No, I missed one spec. I'm sorry. See, I'm doing this wrong already. The digging depth of that machine is 72 inches. So 72 inches of digging depth. Now, going back to the weight with the cab, I would imagine the cab adds at least another 300 pounds. It's got to add more. Like there's glass and the structure itself, plus all the bells and whistles on it. So it's got to add about 300 pounds to that machine, which is good because I have found the R10 to be a little on the light side. But again, I have a hard time really understanding why you'd want a cab on that. But hey, to each their own. If that's what you would like, no shade. Give her. Order it up. Let us know how it is. Next up on the list is the R13. So this is powered by the Kubota Diesel D722, generating a fantastic 13.6 horsepower. Okay. They're claiming it weighs 1,300 kilograms, so that's 2,866 pounds. There's digging depth at 72.5 inches. And these machines are 19 to 21, depending on how you spec them, Canadian. Now, next one up is the R15, right? So they share the same engine as the R13, so the Kubota D722 with, again, 13.6 horsepower. This one weighs in at 1,500 kilos, which translates to 3,306 pounds. There's two variants of this machine as well for 2026. There's the canopy variant, which is the one I own, and then there's a full cab version, which is the one I would like to buy. The digging depth on that machine, according to Rippa, is 71.14 inches. Now, For the canopy model, I know that'll run you around 18-ish thousand Canadian. The cab model, I don't have a price on, so I'm going to speculate that it's going to run you 20 to 21,000. Which brings up a point that we'll circle back to later when we reorganize this list. So next up is the R18. So it's powered by a Kubota D902 diesel, coming in at 15.8 horsepower. They are saying it weighs 1,818 kilograms. So that translates to 4,008 pounds. And the digging depth on that, they're saying, is 95.27 inches. And the prices I could find on this machine are about 27 to 30 Canadian. So then we'll keep moving up here. The R22, so that's their 2.2 ton, is powered by the Kubota D1105, packing 24.1 horsepower. They are saying it weighs 2,371 kilograms, which translates to 5,227 pounds. There is no other variance, it's a full cab only. The digging depth they are claiming is 90.27 inches. This again brings up another comparison to its littler brother, which we will get into in a bit. And I have found these in the price range between 35 and 40 Canadian. Next up is the R32, powered by the Kubota V1505, which is putting out 38.2 horsepower. They're claiming it weighs 3,171 kilograms. Wow. Translates into 6,990 pounds. The digging depth they're claiming is 111.2 inches, and I have found those between 44 to 48,000 Canadian. Now there's a big jump between the R32 and this next one, right? So you might feel a bit of sticker shock here, but remember, there's a big gap here. So the next one up is the R57, and that is powered by the Kubota V2607, pushing out 50.95 horsepower. They claim it weighs 5,700 kilograms, which translates to 12,566 pounds, and I know that to be true because I've run 2 previous generations of that machine. The digging depth is 153.14 inches, according to them. I kind of beg to differ on that, but oh well. And I found those for that 80 grand plus mark. That tracks about right. Now, a machine I've absolutely no experience with at all, and personally, I don't know if I would buy it, because I would just buy a different brand's version of it. But, okay, we'll get into it anyways. It's the R82. These are powered by either a Yanmar or a Chang Chai diesel. The Yanmar number, if you get one of those, is a 4TNV98L. According to Rippa's website, that pushes out 60.34 horsepower at 2100 RPM. They are claiming the machine weighs 8,200 kilograms, which translates into 18,040 pounds. The digging depth they're claiming is 4,172 millimeters, which translates to 164.3 inches. These are going for 110 and more. Yeah. Okay, so we broke the 100 mark. Now we're going to talk about two other machines that aren't Rippa Blue, but they're Rippa Yellow. And these are some kind of wild cards here, and we'll get into where they fit in. But the other Rippa machines you may run into out there is the Rippa R319. Now that also translates to the YH12 yard hoe. Now I have the gas version of this, so it's a machine I know. The gas version is a Briggs & Stratton 13.5 horsepower single cylinder gasoline engine, and according to the website, it's 910 kilograms, coming in at 2,006 pounds. Maybe I think mine's slightly lighter. I also don't have the swing boom though, so that could be it. A well-equipped one of those will run you 7,000 Canadian plus GST and all that crap. Now, something I didn't know, and if they exist in the wild, please let me know, and I'd like to see pictures of it and video of these things. Allegedly, these come with another variant where they use the Kubota D722 diesel. Yeah, that's a pretty big diesel for that small of a machine. So that's, again, the 13.6 horsepower. And they're, I found them for 10 grand Canadian by the time you do the conversion, which seems about right. And for both variants, they're calling the digging depth 1,563 millimeters or 61.53 inches. And the kind of wild card machine that fits in nicely into the lineup, that is budget minded, still gets the job done, and is actually a machine that I want to purchase next. Well, really, I want to buy them all because I'm just that way. I would like to have every one of them. But this next one is one of the machines I feel is really value packed. It is the Rippa R340. Now you can get them with the Yanmar 4-cylinder diesel, or you can get them with the Kubota 4-cylinder diesel. I would lean towards the Kubota. I have a Kubota dealer in town, so I can get parts, and they're with my R15. I already have a Kubota in the fleet, so it just makes sense for me to lean towards the Kubota and keep the fleet the same, right? So the Kubota that they're saying it comes with is the D1105, which again is 24.1 horsepower, which is the common one. Allegedly and apparently, you can get the V1505 in it, which brings you up to 38.2 horsepower. I cannot confirm that. I would imagine the Yanmar, it'll be comparable to the D1105. According to the Rippa website, they're claiming that machine weighs 3,000 kilograms right on the nose, which brings it to 6,631 pounds. They're claiming it's got a dig depth of 98.42 inches, and I found them for sale anywhere between 28 to 38,000 Canadian. And that is almost loaded like the R22 and R32 Pros. Almost, but not quite. So that R340 fits in right between the R22 and the R32. And that is the next one if I'm going to order anything. That's going to be the one. All right, so let's get into some of the comparisons here and what that means for you. Well, I've just given you all the specs, and you're going to find that some of the larger machines you lose some digging depth on, and you're paying more for them than some of the others. And you're also going to find that the price point on the R13 and the R15 are very, very close. And in the research I've done, the R13 actually costs more than the R15, which goes back to what I said earlier about the smaller machines, the more compact machines having a higher price tag. It's a trend, that's where it goes. So it's not uncommon to see, but it is something to consider, right? Another thing to consider with these is, how are you gonna get them around? The weights and things like that, right? So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna jump over to the kind of columns. I have 3 columns that I use to determine how I'm going to buy something, or if I'm going to buy something. All right, so we'll do this kind of on the fly here. So my first column, when I look at something, is I have use case, or for a better term, the tasks I need the machine to do, right? So we'll call that use case / tasks. And then in the next column, I have budget, right? What is this going to cost me? Because there's many things that go into the cost of having a machine. And those are some things that get overlooked. And that's what we're going to talk about. And then we're going to have our third column, which is restrictions. And this is another interesting one that gets overlooked. Restrictions. Okay, so keeping that all in mind, this is how I bought my R15. Okay, so for what I needed it to do, I needed it to run the auger. So I need it to auger, so it needs to weigh more. But I wanted to keep my 1-ton attachments, right? Okay. So that automatically eliminated everything from the R15, or sorry, anything above the R15 automatically eliminated, right? So if I want to keep my attachments, and I still need relatively narrow sight access. Great. Okay. Now, what we were looking at budget earlier was the R13, right, is our option. It was 20 grand. Or my R15, which weighs more and can do more for me, because I don't need that super narrow restricted access, was 18 at the time I bought it, plus GST and all that crap. So right there in the budget, I'm saving 2 grand by not going to the R13 and actually getting more machine out of the R15. Now, what are some of the restrictions that you face when you purchase a piece of equipment? Okay, well, how do you move it? Moving machine. So that ties back to your budget. Do you need to buy a new trailer? Right? In this case, for me, I didn't. I have 2 trailers. Well, it was one at the time I bought the R15, but we brought another one on that comfortably accommodated my machine, right? Now, so you're moving the machine. Now that's trailer. And there's another part to that, is truck. Is your truck up to the task of pulling the trailer that you need for the piece of equipment you're looking at purchasing? Okay, I run half tons, and my truck was good to go. So, or both my trucks are good to go because I know I'm underweight. And those of you that put 13,000 pounds behind a half ton, you're nuts. You're absolutely insane. Just no more than 8,000 pounds. Just good Lord. I don't care what the door says, no more than 8. The brakes on your half ton are not big enough to stop 13,000 pounds. So, new truck over here in budget, is that's something you're going to have to consider? For me, I didn't, right? So, that's a positive to getting the R15. Now, the other thing that we got to think about is parts. Parts and service. Right? So as my comment earlier about going to a Kubota engine, because I have a Kubota dealer in town, what do you have around you? Do you have, if you're running a gas machine and you don't feel comfortable fixing it yourself, do you have a small engine repair facility in town or close to you? Or a guy that can come out, or girl, or whoever, come out and service it for you? Same when you get to the bigger pieces of equipment. How are you going to service them? Right? So parts and service for me, again, going to the Kubota, I have a Kubota in town, so I have a Kubota dealer. And with my background of running equipment and servicing equipment and repairing equipment, I can work on this machine myself. So I don't have the cost of service calls, service truck, that kind of stuff. So no service cost. But you might, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. If you're unsure of the machine, it is definitely better to have a heavy-duty technician look at it and figure it out and work on that. 100% the way to go. Again, I'm in a little bit of a different realm, different category. I'm not saying I'm a heavy tech. No, those guys know way more than me, and way more than I ever will. And that's okay. But I'm not afraid to work on the machine, and I understand the basics of how hydraulic systems work. Okay, so that would be another restriction for you going forward if you can't service the machine yourself, right? Now, hang on. All right, sorry about that. So, some more things to think about too when you're looking at a piece of equipment is, if you're financing it, what's your cost per month on your loan, right? So that would go under your budget. And then, again, you're going to want to put insurance on that. And I'm not sure exactly how it works where you are. I know here in Alberta, Canada, if you have a loan on a piece of equipment, you have to have it insured. So what's your insurance going to cost you? And then the other thing is, what is your running cost going to be? How many hours are you going to put on the machine on an average? How much fuel is it going to go through? Things like grease, hydraulic oil, engine oil, air filters, items like that. Most of those you can price out, some you can't. The average fuel consumption is a hard one to pinpoint because, again, it's so situational. It's so based on what you're doing that day with the machine, how long it idles, how long it works at full throttle, how long you're running attachments, how hard you're laboring the engine, and that kind of thing. It's a tough one to calculate, but after a few days of running it, you could kind of average it out. I know my R15, it's got a 9-liter diesel tank on it, and I burn less than a liter an hour at full canter. So at full beans, I can get a 10-hour run out of it. But that's not running attachments. That's running just a bucket and digging and tracking around and actually using the blade for grading. So I was able to kind of average that out. Your mileage will vary, and that's just a calculation you'll be able to make later on. Now, that all being said, getting back to the machines themselves. Before we do that, because I'm a fool, one other thing to consider in your budget is the cost of attachments. Do you need attachments? Are you transferring the old ones over? What are you doing with that? That's another thing to consider, right? So, anyways, getting back to the machines. Now we can get back to the machines. I'd stated earlier that when it came to the R82 going that big, and we've now cracked the $100,000 mark, that I personally would shy away from the R82. And that is because I have not seen one. I have not run one. I don't know what they feel like. I don't know what they dig like. Based off the specs and what I know, they're essentially just a Doosan prior to Doosan buying Bobcat. Now, I could be wrong on that, but from kind of the research I found, that seems to be the case. And for that 100,000 plus mark, in all reality, I would go to a Hitachi ZX85 4-5-6. Doesn't really matter. It wouldn't, at that money, it doesn't have to be new. It's just Hitachi's. They're just the cat's meow, and I know there's gonna get guys on here. They're gonna get butthurt, and they're gonna be like, "Oh well, Komatsu and Cat and Deer and whatever, stuff it." The orange machines are the way to go. You have Isuzu engines, you got Kawasaki pumps. They're Japanese built, American assembled. So that's another thing to think about, right? Is what goes into your machine. With the Rippa, you know what you're getting. You're getting a Japanese engine, and you're getting most likely a German pump. I can't confirm that for you, but that's just kind of what as I went through and researched each machine, that's what they kept saying is, oh, German this and German that and German this. So that's where that comes in. But the Hitachi, it's just Japanese all through and through, and we know that they are, they're good for over-engineering stuff like the Germans, but they're reliable, they're tough, they're a good machine, and that's the way I'd go in that category. Now, that all being said, Rippa, if you are watching this by some chance, and I highly doubt you are, but if you are, send me an R82. Change my mind. I would love to run one of those and give her a good test and give you feedback on it. That would be fantastic. I would be up for that. We'll dig the world and see how she does. And remember, it's always no if you don't ask. So that's my thoughts on this. That's my thoughts on the list. Again, it all comes down to what you're going to do. So use that formula we talked about previous. What you want it to do, what your budget is, and what the restrictions are, and you'll see how they all correlate with each other as you go down. And hopefully that helps you choose a machine. If you decide to go with a Rippa machine, I encourage you to get in touch with Joy T5, or you can even get in touch with me, as I do have an R10 Eco sitting on the lot ready to go, and I can answer any questions that you might have on some of the bigger machines. So with that though, again, I hope you find that helpful, and thanks for sticking around this long if you did. And yeah, so you take care and stay safe out there. We'll catch you on the next one. Hopefully we get into the dirt next, because good lord, I need to go dig something. Hey there. Just before we actually end the video here, I wanted to clarify some things I said. And as I started kind of writing that out and trying to explain um, what I'd said about the R82, it turns out it's going to be a lot bigger of a topic than I can just slip into the end of a video here. So there will be another video coming out, and it will be on what the R57 and what the R82 actually are underneath the skin. Look for that one fairly quick right after this one, but there it is. So you will get some clarification on some things if you have any questions. And do drop your questions in the comments so I can answer those as well in the next video. Till then, thank you again. Take care, stay safe, and we'll see you soon.